tại là do police station ở do city hall nhớ cho không ra bệ nè người sẽ đợi tua nó mà do chỉ ở tua tự trả nên nó lần từ rồi ở tiền tua nên nó sẽ kiến dần dần cho vào nên nó hiểu hay năng chơi xử lý sẽ đợi tua nó tua khó thiệt cho nên nó tụ chú dây chú rò nó sẽ hạt tụ mê dở nhất là họ không ra bệ nó còn nữa họ bao thiệt đó bỏ hạt tiền bây sẽ đợi cô nó xã tổ kiến dần dần tí dạng gọc giờ li nên nó cô giờ ít khó và nên nó tăng mình là tồn tại cho nên nó bây sẽ đợi và tổ ít tu sức lại những chỗ tổ bây sẽ đợi mỗi chỗ khó tăng mình là mà nên chỉ do hạt tiền do nên nó và vô kế nữa còn nó mình chân tàu hạt tiền nên nó lấy cô lọt sự và là cô do nè vì cho họ tu nhà tài lâu nữa nữa thứ mua gì chỗ tới xong rồi là lợi dụng chân tàu hạt tiền nữa chủ chỉ bao lúa lợi chủ chỉ sau qua lì tàu nữa thế
lúc nó bây giờ sinh hoạt hiện giờ bây giờ thảo và chỉ chỉ luôn luôn tê chỉ vềที่này luôn chạy tê nó và chỉ xã cả về một piece về nhau một không một dư chỉ về thì là một cái cá xe giờ lên nó mà về tôi nhớที่chuyện nó về cũng mua trò lúa mua tê mua chơi về giờ lúa về xỉ thì về cũng trò lúa mua tê mua chơi giờ lên đây là tàu rồi về giờ chỉ tê dạo về nhau xe rồi về về bao rồi sao chạy chỉ tàu tàu giờ thì nó chỉ họ thôi chạy lỡ rồi là về họ tàu hải rồi giờ về họ chỉ bao thì chạy về họ ô tô lại rồi là về tàu giảm về tàu nhông rồi thế rồi bảoว่าchỉ tàu lưu kia thì cả về thì nó chỉ cho khoản nó chỉ giờ và chỉ trả ok thì cứ thảo và chỉ về mà là về hải lưu và chỉ có thành đô về từ chỉ cứ nhau sống đôi chơi chơi cứ bao thì cái giờ từ lại hú Our Heavenly Father, today we are here before you. I know that you are Holy One. Pe bao đại cái giờ chụp lại hú, cái giờ chụp chữ phủi lúc tê lúc chờ, cái giờ chụp chỉ pe nấu này. Và chữ pe hãy mong tôi nhớ cho lúc tê chờ nó. Pe tôi dùng lúc tê kế lì kế chai. Đầu giờ pe họ ô chỉ tàu lên lúc tê kế chai là pe thọ cả giản dị cho pe. Thằng khí sinh giúp nó, pe tôi nhớ họ chờ nó. Pe hạt lê hạt nụ thọ cả nhau giúp pe. Vì cho họ pe mọi case. Cứ rồi lại cứ lưu vi tăng lưu để tu kiến sự của tàu để bé từ sinh từ dễ cho áo tỏ này của tàu món này hay của cho này món này gìn bé của nhiều xe sao khăn nó giờ để tiền để nói giờ để kiến trang gì rồi lên đại tiền nó là bé họ tàu xe cho tiền tàu giờ tiền nó chỉ là kiến trang gì nó là có họ ba kia bé cả bé giờ dùng lúc tiền lúc chơi nó cả chi phí bé nhau lúc chơi tại vì nó cả bé một piece có bé hai lô rong có chi phí bé kia hai lô có ít lên sai tàu ít lên phí ít lên hay có bé xong bao tờ rồi họ có từ patient có ba có bé một patient có comfort bé số lên số từ lúc xe luôn chứ có bé nhau cái thành viên lúc xe hơi nó rồi xe bé mấy cho nó mông tôi sẽ chỉ bé hay để hậu luyện nó có bu họ wisdom rồi bé cho nó mông có họ bu họ wisdom rồi bé cho attorney có bu họ wisdom rồi bé cho George cho họ cái từ judge cái từ righteous judge cái bây từ lawyer bây giờ sẽ cho có và chỉ giờ lúc xưa hay nó nhiều sẽ là mua cho tin này ở này nó cho chỉ tôi mua phi cho tụi con so giờ bây giờ có hậu cái đấy xe according to your will not our will và chỉ cái từ đây vừa bây khi thì nó tụi con cái ba bây giờ cái cho để chỉ sự luôn về amen.
Okay, next here we have our first speaker. He's the president of the Hmong 18 Council. Could could you come up to the mic, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, community members, organizations. We are here today because we are concerned and we want changes. So every person of different skin color can be treated with equality. We want to address our concerns and show our support to Chua Zhang. We, as community leaders and members, are deeply concerned about the incidents which involved Coon Rapids law enforcement, K9, and Chua Zhang, an 80-year-old Hmong grandmother. The actions and outcomes of the officers on February 5th, 2017 is too serious. This should warrant a public apology of the incident. We, the Hmong community, call upon the city's police department and mayor's office to investigate the actions the police officers took and take appropriate authority to impose necessary discipline and institutionalize cultural competency within its department in response to the incidents where this Hmong grandmother was attacked by police dogs in her own backyard in the city of Coon Rapids. Chua Zhang, we are here with you. We understand your pain. The community understands your pain. You did not deserve to be dragged, to have dogs set up on you. You are a victim of the institutional bias and discriminations. The officers could have treated you with respect. The officers could have treated you humanely. You are someone's mother. You are someone's grandmother. If you were the officer's grandmother, would they have treated you differently? We want changes. We do not want the skin color of the grandmother to decide how she will be treated. We want to extend our hands to the city of Coon Rapids and the Coon Rapids Police Department to build a relationship and make changes so that this does not happen again to everyone's grandmother. Thank you.
Next, we'd like to welcome the family of Chua Zhang. So, Tsi and the attorney, also including the whole family, could you guys please come up here?
Ulumbe hoa wat si sing xiong. Kuyan zhuo xiong tua wao sing zi. Unde na gu tao wa zhao zhao lu gong ho. Lo de go yi sen. Da zhao Minnesota Justice. Dan da zhao gong ho nhỏ ho Minnesota no. Thia zhao phong zhao yu zhao nia zhao zi. Zhuo lên zhuo tu. Nhau li unde sẽ được zhao. Nô nọ nè nó ở địa, bê bọn rùa xong, cho bùi cho để tỏ, nè cô mò xía cho bê chế năng thia, nô nọ nè cô tua cho xía cho bê chế năng, cô nè sẽ được cho. Nhau lì đờ, bê bọn nó, cô yêu thả mình gì ở địa, bê bọn yêu tàu, nữ ý tụ tu, nhau lì đờ, nữ tụ tu hùa, số chữ sẵn vào. Yêu tàu bao tàu tu trâu tuần xài bê chỉ số chữ sản qua tàu cho bê chê tàu nên gọi ilu xong nó tàu bê cho mình ổn chua là cho ta nó yêu lên đó bê cho mình ổn chua tàu cho bê bỏ nhau người tàu chia cho bê nọ cho bê hồ là cho ta nó bê bỏ chỉ có ít tuần hằng phê người có ít tuần hằng rong giờ nó chỉ cho lưu mì cà là nó chỉ một tháp lâu tháng tu chỉ muốn chia sẻ chia lù người cho ít tuần hằng qua sơn gió trăng người những chia ta và chỉ tàu đồ đồ bê cho mình tung nhỏ nhỏ yêu lên đó bê lu xia luôn chứ yên chịu mua mò đã chỉ xa cho đã chỉ là cho nó lúc ở liền đâu mà thì chỉ thổ xem sinh ra đó nếu tại nó rong bù lý cho áo tỏ nữa giờ lên đó bé cho tu chua chua tu này cho chạy cho võ chua chua tu nó hay để bù lý cho áo tỏ nữa mua bé lu xiên bù lý tu áo nó tu mua bé lu xiên gà kia lại yo chia chỉ chia yo chỉ bỏ cá hay lò lục cả tư yo hay to ít điểm mỏ cho con dâu lò tư chỉ cho cá sò nữa yo trả chế một trâu tỏ để tăng lia là tăng chua tư chỉ cho cá mà giờ để bé mỏ xiên bỏ lên nó nhua xiên bỏ lên nó cú sa cỏ cho nó cho chứ chua lên chua tù lò sai kiến nhận chẳng cho bé bò sau đó sa thì ít tu neng ua tàu ít bùa lành neng mỏ xiên để giờ vì tụ bồ lý nó nếu mua kế cờ ta xin nếu chỉ ua trời nếu cho kế cờ nếu chủ ua trời nếu lúc xiên xả xứ nó nó sẽ cho bé bò lên nó giờ nếu ua trời nếu cho kế cờ chỉ những chỉ trong lên nó ê cỏ cho nó cho chứ là sai chùa ai tiền nó tụ ô tỏ bé bò nó lúc khó cha bé yuan giòn mù cho nó bé tua tỷ lúc khó mua bé chuẩn giòn trống để sao có cho nó cho chứ là chùa kiến giang chẳng tôi bé cho mình tu mình nhọn bé cho mình nhọn chùa nó u ngua nè hà liên nó sư u nè sẽ được trồng nè
Benjamin Gallagher.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Gallagher. I'm an attorney at law, and I represent Shua Zhang. Those whom we, as a diverse community, have entrusted with our safety and well-being continue to test our patience and exhibit a lack of understanding of our trust with assaultive, dehumanizing, and traumatizing behavior toward the most vulnerable of us. Shua Zhang is an 81-year-old widowed grandmother who has also lost her only son. She was brutally attacked by a police canine last Sunday while minding her own business. Sure. While minding her own business at her own home. After being attacked and bitten by the dog, and after having been identified as an elderly Hmong woman, she was further traumatized, humiliated, and injured physically by being dragged across frozen ground to a squad car, sustaining injuries to her legs in the process. The Coon Rapids Police Department's immediate response to this situation, according to video we have seen in social media, was to position itself, to declare itself the victim of unfortunate circumstances, to declare its actions not worthy of any investigation or review, and, in the words of Chief Wise, to want the public to be able to put themselves in the positions of the officers. This response is evidence of a broader problem. It is disappointing, and it is troubling to my client, to her family, and to the residents of Coon Rapids and beyond. We are conducting a thorough investigation into this incident. We encourage the city and the police department to abandon its hubris and to do the same. Thank you. Watch out.
Our next special speaker today is Council Dai Tao. Can you please come up to the mic?
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. I want to acknowledge all of our allies and friends and supporters today here. 18 Council, Hmong American for Justice, Asian American Organizing Project, Red Asians, NAACP, Black Lives Matters, the African American Leadership Council, and so many others here today to stand with the Hmong American community and to stand with the people of Coon Rapids today. Now, this should not happen to a old grandmother, regardless of race or neighborhood or where they are from. Now, the people of Coon Rapids deserve a better department that will show all the citizens with dignity and respect. To Chua and her family, this is so undeserving of what happened to you. Your generation was a generation that fought alongside the Americans during the Secret War. It was your generation that brought us here to this country so that we could be educated, so that we could become contributing American citizens. It is the Hmong Americans and people of color and all communities of this community that buy houses here, they do businesses here, they live and they thrive here, and they deserve a better department. I represent the Ward 1 in St. Paul City Council. I have constituents who have families, aunts and uncles, who lives here, who bought the home here, who goes to church here, and they are concerned. If this could happen to an 80-year-old grandmother, what worse scenario could happen to someone that is not 80-year-old? And this is something that we must come to terms with, and the way that we can restore this trust is that we must have an independent investigation from the BCA to ensure that there's transparency and accountability in the police department and the city of Coon Rapids. Now, this is not an isolated incident. All across our country, all across the state, how law enforcement treat people who are disabled, treat elderly people. Treat people with mental health issues is unacceptable, and we must stand with them. They are the most vulnerable people in our community. I stand with all the people in Coon Rapids and all the elders and the Hmong American leaders here today that we will seek justice and we will get justice. As an elected and even police officer, every day we pledge our allegiance to this country to seek justice and liberty for all. We should not be, police officers should not be the one creating injustice and taking away people's liberty. Thank you.
Our next speaker, please, John Thompson from St. Paul, Minnesota, Black Lives Matters.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me today. I want to start by saying I do stand in solidarity with the Hmong and Asian community. It's injustice. First thing I thought when I seen was this woman was 82 years old. And I thought to myself, well, somebody's going to be held accountable for this. It's not going to happen again. And then I hear the police sergeant say, the officer followed exactly the protocol. Sir, you need to change the protocol. You need to change the protocol. Over and over and over again, I hear, and everywhere I go, I hear, they say, well, we want to build trust within the police community. We have to start by building accountability before we can build trust. We have to build accountability. It can't be no more tasing. It can't be no more sicking your dog on 82-year-old women. It can be no more macing. It can be no more beating. It can be no more killing of people. Innocent people. At the taxpayer's expense. It seems like to me every time we have this gathering, it's us asking for justice. And I said us, just us. That's what it is. Just us asking for justice. Just the Hmong community, just the African American community, just the Puerto Rican, the Mexican community, the Somali community. Just us. I stand in solidarity when I say I want just us. For just us. We have to stop this cycle, man. Every time you have this problem, the first thing the police departments do is go into defense mode and try to defend the bullcrap that they keep doing. You sick your dog on the 82-year-old woman. There's nothing wrong with that. If you think there's nothing wrong with that, Sergeant, you have the wrong job. Your officer was a coward who did not want to do his job that day, so he sent his dog in there to do the job for him. Now just imagine for a minute if the shoe was on the other foot and that lady shot that dog. Now she's charged with killing an animal on her property when you violated her property. Lord, help us! Help us! Everybody out here in this crowd see there's a problem. Only people that don't see there's a problem is the people behind us in this police department. I have a problem coming here because the first name is Coon in this city. That's how they treat us, African American men, when we come to Coon Rapids. They treat us just like that name, Coons. This is one of the sundown towns that black men don't travel through. Action. We don't travel through Coon Rapids. We are scared for our lives from these terrorists in this building behind us. That's a shame. Ask yourself this. Ask yourself this question. If you accept this for an 82-year-old woman, if you won't accept this for an 82-year-old woman, stand with me. If you accept this for an 82-year-old woman, there's something sick in your mind. She was dragged. I mean, she didn't even get a I'm sorry from the police department. Y'all ought to be screaming I'm sorry and taking cards, flowers, balloons, candy, all kind of stuff to that woman in the hospital. There was a crime committed here by the hands of the police department. Help us, Lord, help us. Nobody see this? Nobody see this but us, this crowd here. I want justice! Thank you.
Thank you, John. Our next speaker will be Linda from the Asian American Organization Project.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here to demand justice for Chua Hyung. I'm also here to share stories to remind us and to connect the dots of police brutality in our communities. The Coon Rapids Police Chief Jeff Wagner had stated that his officers were following protocols and no further investigation would be pursued. They also set a tone that if people who are limited English speakers or don't speak English, and people with disabilities who are hard of hearing or deaf, if they don't respond to the police English commands, they will use dehumanizing force without further investigation, even if you're a threat or not. This is wrong and this is not okay. The mainstream media and police chief have controlled the critical details of this incident to neutralize it. Details Chua Hyung shared on a couple of local Hmong news channels of how the police use aggressive and dehumanizing force on her even after she had cried out. Chua Hyung is not the first person to be treated this way by the police. Let's remember Phong Lee, who was shot and killed by Minneapolis police in 2006. Let's remember Jamal Clark, who was shot and killed by Minneapolis police in 2015. Let's remember Map Kong, who was shot and killed by Burnsville police in 2016. Let's remember Philando Castile, who was shot and killed by St. Anthony police officer in 2016. Let's remember the Native and Indigenous people who were fighting at Standing Rock for their land and water rights, who faced harm by the police. Lastly, I'd like to share a personal story that hopes to inspire you and spark conversation with your family and community to end police brutality and abuse. One of my elders in my family told me that of her distrust with the police when I was having a conversation with her about police brutality, Jamar Clark, and Black Lives Matter. She told me that this happened over 10 years ago. She was driving her husband to work on a snowy day. As she drove out of the parking lot, a cab drove by and hit her bumper. The police arrived on the scene. My elder thought that the police would come there to help her document the accident, but instead the police officer spoke English to the female white cab driver, thinking that my elder would not, understand English, but my elder did. The police officer had told the cab driver that he won't document the incident because it was not worth the trouble, that the cab driver would face jeopardizing her job for an old car, which that's something she wouldn't want. From that day on, my elder did not trust the police again. Police brutality and abuse is not new and has happened countless times to our Hmong, Asian, Black, and African, Native, Indigenous, and Latino communities. And those who, now in these political darker times, that face even greater danger and harm are our family members, peers, colleagues, and community members who are limited English speakers with disabilities, who are gay, lesbian, bi, trans, and queers, who are refugees, immigrants, and undocumented people. Let's continue to show up and speak up against police brutalities in our communities and demand justice for Chua Xiong. Thank you.
Alrighty, our next speaker is Nakima Levy-Pound from NAACP. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. I stand on behalf of the Minneapolis NAACP and those who believe in freedom, justice, and equality with Ms. Chua Xiong and the Hmong community. Police violence is an issue that many of us have been fighting for a long time, and it will not end until we stand up for justice, we stand up for what is right, and we demand accountability. We should have heard from the mayor of Coon Rapids and city council members after this incident happened, letting people know that they do not condone attacks of an 81-year-old woman in the city of Coon Rapids, and the fact that it was completely unacceptable. We should have received an apology from the Coon Rapids Police Department, the chief in particular, not a half apology, justifying the terrible conduct of the officers in question and the dehumanizing treatment of Ms. Chua Xiong. We should have received a full apology. Beyond that, we echo the call for an independent investigation into this incident. We also call upon Governor Dayton to speak out about this incident. We have seen our governor speak out about different issues. We know that he spoke out after Philando Castile was killed, and we're expecting him to speak out on behalf of Ms. Chua Xiong. We're expecting our DFL legislators who come and knock on our doors, including the doors of the Hmong community and other communities of color, asking for our vote. But in times like these, when people in our community face dehumanizing treatment, they are nowhere to be found, and that is completely unacceptable. Their silence as lawmakers play a role in what's happening. There should be legislation that prevents these types of incidents from happening. Our state government should be willing to investigate these incidents instead of leaving it up to the discretion of local police departments that we know will rubber stamp misconduct on the part of police officers. It's completely unacceptable, and we are tired of it. We send our greetings and our prayers and our support to Ms. Chua Xiong and her family and the trauma that she has experienced at the hands of the Coon Rapids Police Department. And we ask the community, all communities of color, to stand in solidarity with the Hmong community. And we ask our white allies to recognize that this is a problem that affects you too. An 81-year-old grandmother could have been anybody's grandmother. So we ask that you not be silent and complicit and not continue to expect the system of justice to work, because it's not designed to work on behalf of those who are marginalized and oppressed. And your silence allows this type of oppression to continue. So I want to thank the Hmong community for standing up. The African American community is right there with you, and we support you all in whatever you need.
Our next special guest speaker today is Tyrone Terrell of the American Leadership Council. African American, sorry, I wrote it wrong.
And I'll be brief because I think everything has been said. But as the president of the African American Leadership Council, representing both my organization, but the St. Paul branch of the NAACP, and the St. Paul Black Ministerial Alliance, we stand here united with our brothers and sisters from the Hmong community. One thing that we've said for years in our community, we've had dogs put on us for the last 500 years. So the dog thing is nothing new to black people. So welcome to our world. But we must say to every police department, they have to value our humanity. They do not value us as people. They see us as animals. They treat us as an animal. But we must stand united together in any injustice. Because an 82-year-old grandmother, not somebody 24, 25, 40, 82 years old, when they've done that to an 82-year-old white woman. So until we make them value us, and Sister Nakima said it, they want our votes, they want our tax dollars, but they don't want to represent us and treat us as humans. So, but they won't get respect till we demand it. We have to demand that respect from them. So for Ms. Young and her family and all of our communities, we must say no to this injustice. Because nobody's grandmother, at 82 years old, dragged by a dog. We're talking about a dog on a human being. Her life will never be the same as a result of this hideous incident. So we stand united, as always, with our Hmong brothers and sisters from St. Paul and the Hmong community to the end. So thank you.
Our next speaker is City Council Susan Pa.
I represent Brooklyn Park as their newly elected city council, and we are the neighboring city. My heart goes out to Chua and her family, but I have to say that this incident is something that can very much likely happen in our city in Brooklyn Park. We're the second most diverse city, and I think that it's really important as elected officials, as the police department, especially the chief of the police, to every city in the state of Minnesota and across the country, to really take this case and say, could this happen in our community? It is very likely that it can. And so instead of taking this case and saying, as the police department, we are in defensive mode, we're not going to take accountability for what we did, we're not going to change our policies, we're not going to evaluate our protocols. Instead, take this case and say, this was wrong, this was unjust, and we as elected officials, as a police department, as leaders in our community, are going to use this case as a way for us to improve our policies, improve our protocols, so this does not happen to people that live in our community that we're supposed to protect. One of the things that disturb me the most is we have a large population of our community that are the most vulnerable people. People who don't speak English, people who are deaf, hard of hearing, people who have disabilities, people who have mental illness. And what are we doing to protect these people? When we go out in the community, we're supposed to serve and protect them. This is a question I would like every single police department across the country to think about and to evaluate within their department. I know that when I go back to Brooklyn Park, it's the number one thing I will have a discussion with in my police department, my city. Thank you.
We have here Cindy Yang from the Hmong American for Justice.
Well, first, thank you, everybody, for coming here tonight. And Cindy, and I'm a board member of Hmong Americans for Justice. As my thing fixer. Okay, so we demand that the mayor conduct an independent investigation on this case. We demand policy changes where officers have better training, cultural competency? Because unleashing an attack on an 81-year-old woman should not be considered appropriate behavior or following protocol. We demand answers of why, after being identified as an elderly 82-year-old woman who did not fit the description, who was no longer a threat, and was then dragged by her hands like an animal for over 100 feet and shoved into the backseat of a police vehicle. What were you scared of at that point? And at the very same time, dehumanizing her, humiliating her, because her pants were falling off as they were shoving her into the backseat of their vehicle. As I stand here and I demand these answers, but as a community who has seen this too often, we know these answers. And they are a very obvious poor policy, police officers who don't have appropriate training, and it's racial bias. And I stand before you, all of you, as a concerned citizen, as a Hmong woman, and as an American. And we can do better than this. And time after time, the community has risen up in very obvious outrage and in tears. And I'm tired. And a very strong, beautiful Black woman, a poet, she said, "I'm tired of filling in the blank of new victims every day." Thank you.
Sit down so that we can have healing to this community and healing to what happened on Sunday. It's a regrettable issue that we're dealing with, and President Vu, I extend my support and help for you and the clan members, and to the family. I'm very sorry that this happened, and let's sit down and foster that moment that we can move and beyond and start healing as a community and make sure that incidents like this don't happen again in the future. So I give that to you, President Vu, and to the rest of the community. What else you can do?
Next we have here is Zhongka.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon. My English might not be so good, but I can speak Monglish. And I hope you understand. I am a Hmong human rights activist from the Hmong community. I'm here today because the incident that happening to Chua Shong, the grandmother. When I found out and I heard, she was an elderly woman. And for me, what's really going through my head? When the police receive a call, yes, I understand they're doing their job. When the neighbor call, I understand, yes, they see something unusual, they will call the police. We appreciate that. But what I don't understand is when the officer come, and the officer found out that somebody is in the shed, the officer give her a verbal command, and there's no response. As she's cleaning her shed, believing that she's in her property, not knowing that anybody's outside, to the officer, maybe just sounds like raccoon, what sounds like a dog, making a whole bunch of noise. If there is a crime, when the officer gives a verbal command, this person will come out, will act differently. But you know what? I'm also shocked that when the dog get into the shed and attacked the woman, the grandma, and she was howling and screaming and crying, the police officer already know there is a grandmother. There is a grandmother. It's an elderly grandmother. Right? And if the officer cares so much what he's doing, you know what? Remember, police officer is also known as a peace officer. That's right. Right? Yeah. And how come the officer released the second K9? That's right. Huh? The second K9. And tried to rip her off the same thing in the shed until drag her out of the shed. And when they already discovered that she's an elderly woman, that's enough. Does she has a gun? Does she has a horn? Does she has a big T? That may be dangerous. But look, number one, she's an elderly person. Number two, she doesn't speak English. Number three, she has problem with hearing. You see, is that necessary for the police officer to twist her arm between her back? Is that very necessary that the police officer grab her arm and bend to the top of her head and drag her from her backyard and to the front yard and to the police squad car? What the hell is that? What kind of show is that? And her skirt is on the floor. What kind of pervert is that? Huh? You know what? Council Daitao remind me one thing. The Hmong people come to this country for us, very special reason. Anybody know what Lima Site 85 is? Lima Site 85 is known as a Pupati. United States radar that station in that Lima 85. Hmong people sacrifice thousands of lives to protect the radar in North Laos, so that radar can pinpoint target in North Vietnam for the U.S. Air Force to bomb. That's number one job. Number two job is when the United States pilot or Air Force got shot down, if they make a left turn, they go to the ocean. But if they make a right turn, the Hmong people are the ones that save them. That's the second job. Lima Site 28. Anybody know? No? That's Long Chain, CIA headquarters. That's where the Hmong people stationed. Okay? So, besides that, the last one is Ho Chi Minh Trail. It's also known as the enemy supply line. That coming from North Vietnam to South Vietnam through Laos. And our job is to cut off the enemy line. We sacrifice thousands of people to try to cut off the enemy line. That's what our job is. And you know what? We got a whole bunch of bullets. We've been chased the animal. We got shot at. We've been through so much traumatized. And we come to this country for peace, for a better life, for better living, better education. And that's why we are here. But you know what? You know what? Today, I found we are facing a different situation. How are we going to deal with that? You know what? These people live in this Coon Rapid. We have some more people live here. We are working class people. We pay our tax. Our tax is paying for this police department, paying for the city employees. That's how they treat us. You know what? I'm shocked. 2004, I was the one that walked from the state capital of St. Paul, Minnesota to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness about the Hmong people in Laos, over 2,000 miles. So you know what, I'm here. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity, the time. I wish I know everybody's name, but thank you very much for being here to support the Hmong community. And thank you all. Thank you.
All right, we're open for some questions. If anybody out there want to ask, we have the mic here.
Mr. Gallagher, can we ask you a quick question? You represent the family. Well, can you step up? You represent the family. I'd like to know what the family has heard from the city, whether it be the police chief, the mayor, the city administrator, anybody. Has the city reached out in any way to the family?
To my knowledge, in an individual capacity, no. There have been some statements that have been recorded with audio and visual, which have been posted to various social media sites. I have seen in particular one video of Chief Wise that does make some comments, I believe, directed to the family. But to my knowledge, there has not been a specific outreach to this family. No.
Nothing direct?
Nothing direct that I'm aware of.
Follow-up question. Secondly, you asked for an independent investigation. Who would you like to perform that investigation?
Actually, sir, I didn't ask for an independent investigation. My comments were simply that we are conducting our own investigation, and I would simply ask the city and the police department to conduct their own investigations. I believe some of the other speakers did mention the possibility of an independent investigation. We would certainly support that as well. And whoever would take that upon themselves, or whoever the mayor or the governor may direct to do so, we leave in their capable hands.
We got about 5 minutes. Okay, we're extending just 5 minutes.
I was just going to speak to the attorney of the family as well. I am just wondering what kind of solution or closure does the victim and the family expect?
What kind of solution or closure do they expect? They expect justice in whatever form that takes. The law has certain limitations with regard to what it can accomplish. I have certain limitations within the law with regard to what I can accomplish on behalf of the family and on behalf of Chua Shong. I think in a general fashion, I would echo what many of the speakers here today have also said, which is that I think that everybody is looking for some openness, and exploration of the facts, some transparency, some accountability. And I believe that my client and her family would echo that as well.
How's her client doing at this point?
I'm not going to get into any specifics at this point. I can tell you that, as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, that she has been significantly traumatized. She is back home with her family now and is embarking on a healing process, but it has been a very significant event for her, both physically and emotionally.
the chief says they were following protocol, but were they actually following the law? Were they following the law and how to use it?
That's a question for another day, I'm afraid. Thank you, sir.
Mitch? No, I'm good. I think he asked the question.
Yeah, this is a question for the family. I want to know if your mom or your grandma normally goes out in the shed every morning, and whether or not that's a normal occurrence, or was this the first time ever? And what did the neighbor expect was happening around the house that prompted that call?
All right, that will be the last question.
Just, sir, just to address the question, the specific factual circumstances that occurred on that day will be more fully investigated, and what occurred, what usually occurs, what doesn't usually occur, these are all things that need to be investigated and fully understood, and we're not here today to comment on those issues.
In other words, has there been an ongoing issue?
We're not here today to comment on that. It is dying.
All right, we're done. Okay, thank you. You know what? The mic is dying. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today.
Okay, lúc xưa là để lại cú sầu nên nó cái thả lùng lúc nó là về sẽ đợi cô tua chỉ chống bộ đi trả thế.
Chỉ là cái thay cái tả thế mà.
Tả thế nào?
Lúc nào cái lúc đó?
It's a neighbor. Yeah, the neighbor said someone's walking around in my yard. And then the police got there. It wasn't in that yard. It was in the wrong yard. The neighbor.
Có thể hai cái tờ thả chúng nó tà luôn này.
Cuma tembak aja. Sudah ada tuh.
Lúc chế bây giờ bỏ được nó giờ lúc xí đi họ nhớ đồn được không ra bên nữa này họ nói giờ xí đi họ thế police station nhớ ok họ nó chỉ giờ lên đến hôm nào bây giờ theo lý tour và này là mua cái dân dân nhớ cho họ và này là không ra bên xí đi họ nó.
Okay.
Tụi nó thì do chế năng và tụ nệ tài và ấu tọ nó tụ và nệ nó cứ đi theo nên cô hình để tụ chế năng cái để đồ tụ nệ tài và ấu tọ.
I'm gonna hit this building over here from city council is in recruitment.
thì bé sẽ đời sau lên nó là giống một nó chỉ nó là bé mà lấy Hauv và cho sẽ đời một sáng thì